Hello everyone, and welcome to the post-National Train Day update video for 2018. In this video I will show you all of the train-related things I got for both my birthday and National Train Day, and the reason why I do this is because, well, my birthday and National Train Day are very close together, so I combine the two. So the first thing we're looking at here is this documentary that I got for my birthday called Daylight, the Most Beautiful Train in the World by TravelVideoStore.com. It is hosted and narrated by Michael Gross, who is an actor and rail fan, and it's also co-hosted by several other people, including railroad historians, passengers who rode the Daylight train, as well as former Southern Pacific Railroad employees. And there's a lot shown here in this 65-minute long or so documentary about the Daylight, and it really covers a lot of this beautiful train. It shows from just before the Daylight actually came into existence, around their times on the Southern Pacific, and it also shows the end of the Daylight service, and then it goes beyond that to show the present day operations, or at least present day of when this was made, but it's basically the same, of when Amtrak took over and initiated the Coast Starlight service. So the Daylight, in case you don't know, it was a Southern Pacific passenger train, probably the most famous one that they had, which was a train that ran from San Francisco to Los Angeles. It was a very beautiful train and looked great along the California coast. Here in this picture you can see right along the coast here just how close it is to the ocean. This is an LA bound Daylight train right here, because you can see the Pacific Ocean right there, and there's the coast of California right there. Yeah, it's just very well done documentary for sure. And yes, I do agree that the Daylight is one of, if not the most beautiful train in the world. There are some other trains to me that are of equal ranking to the Daylight in terms of beauty, but the Daylight for sure is a favorite of mine. It is one of my favorite trains, and definitely a beautiful one for sure. And so TravelVideoStore.com did a great job right here with this documentary, and I really enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend it. So now we'll move on to the next thing that I got for my birthday that was train related, which is Chicago Steam Celebration. This is by Pentrex. This covers the NRHS convention in Chicago in 1993. There was a lot of stuff going on there back then when it came to a lot of excursions and other railroad-related events that were really cool to see for sure. They had the Independence Limited, which ran from Knoxville, Tennessee to Chicago, and it had 4 steam locomotives pulling the train, not all at once though. They had the Southern 4501 pull it from Knoxville, Tennessee to somewhere in Virginia just outside of Roanoke, and then in Virginia they had the Norfolk and Western J-Class number 611 take the train to Fort Wayne, and then in Fort Wayne that's when they had the Nickel Plate Road 587, which you see here, and the Nickel Plate Road 765 double head to Chicago to pull the train there. And so when they got to Chicago, they had excursions from Chicago to Argos, Indiana and back with the 2 Nickel Plate Road steam locomotives. And there were a lot of other events going on at that time as well. They also had, you can see right here, they had 2 Chicago Northwestern F units, EMD F units, added to a Metra commuter train. And on board that Metra train there were people who were going to the Illinois Railway Museum, which you can see right here, to see this Burlington E5, the Silver Pilot, and more trains from the collection of the Illinois Railway Museum. And those trains were in operation as well. And people wanted to see the whole cavalcade of trains and ride them, and also ride the trolleys that were there during the NRHS convention for 1993. And so they have a whole section on the Illinois Railway Museum, in addition to the Metra train that got the passengers from Chicago to Elgin, and then the passengers took buses to get from Elgin to Union, which is where the Illinois Railway Museum is. And there's also footage of the Union Pacific Challenger, number 3985, in Illinois, because it went out that way for the convention as well, and did excursions from just outside of Chicago, right around Lansing, Illinois, to Findlay Junction, Illinois, and back. And so that is seen as well. They also have special Chicago L train runs that they were doing, and that's also seen here in this DVD. There's also a little tour of Chicago's Union Station when they showed the renovations of it back then. And they also show part of Metra's 14th Street Yard, which is just south of Chicago's Union Station. They do show that as well. And there's also a special South Shore commuter train run that is seen here for the NRHS members. That was also shown and covered as well on this DVD. And this is a really long DVD, and it's definitely worth watching, and even worth getting as well. It's 2 hours long, plus it's got about 15 minutes of previews. Very well done railroad production by Pentrex. There's one error, though, on the jacket of the DVD, and that is right here. It says a Frisco 10-wheeler when they were referring to the Illinois Railway Museum. That locomotive is Frisco 1630, which is actually a decapod with a 210-0 wheel arrangement. A 10-wheeler has a 460 wheel arrangement, so that is actually wrong here on this DVD. They're actually referring to the Frisco 1630, which is a decapod, again, and not a 10-wheeler, because, like I've said, a 10-wheeler has a 460 wheel arrangement, a decapod has a 210-0 wheel arrangement. We'll go back to the front here. But other than that, I would say that pretty much everything, or mostly everything that's mentioned here and shown here, is accurate to what they were referring to, of course. And again, this is a great production by Pentrex. I definitely recommend it. It's one of their best pieces that I've seen so far, and I'm glad that I have it on DVD now. It's a good DVD to have if you have the other production by Pentrex, with the Steam to Chicago DVD, which that shows the Independence Limited progressing its way from Knoxville to Chicago. And so now you can see that this is almost like a sequel to it in a way. And so if you watch them, back to back, I'm sure that would be a great experience, and you can definitely learn a lot about the NRHS convention of 1993 that way. So these are the things I got for my birthday for 2018 that were train related. Now we'll move on to the next thing that I got for my birthday that I also got for National Train Day for 2018, which is the Train Simulator 2018 DLC I'm about to show you, and we'll take a look at that right now. So now we're looking at the Train Simulator 2018 DLC that I got for my birthday and National Train Day. This is the Union Pacific 440 American-type steam locomotive with the 1869 Cheyenne route DLC by Smokebox. This includes the Cheyenne in 1869 route, featuring 28 miles of the Transcontinental Main Line from the Cheyenne East Stage Stop to the Water Stop 19 miles west of Cheyenne, plus the 2-mile-long branch line from Cheyenne to Camp Carlin in the Wyoming Territory in 1869. This pack also includes the Union Pacific American-type steam locomotives in their as-delivered form, with red and green variants. It also includes Union Pacific boxcars, Union Pacific flat cars, unloaded versions, as well as loaded versions, and the loaded versions feature loads of planks, rails, and vats. There are Union Pacific baggage cars, Union Pacific clerestory coaches, Union Pacific combine coach caboose cars, lots of new scenery objects, and 5 career mode scenarios. Now we move on to the pros, advantages, and strengths of this DLC. Lots of buildings light up at night. The highball signals actually work and are not just cosmetic. The rails are T-rail just like in real life, and the ties are rendered. These locomotives feature the latest TSX effects like headlights that light up the surrounding environment, as well as rain on the windows when it rains or snows. All of the cab controls are externally animated, and all the controls animate properly. There are many externally moving parts that connect to the cab controls, such as the cylinder cocks, whistle cord, bell, and brake shoes. The fire not only has flickering flames, it also changes color according to the temperature. There's also firebox glow when the firebox door is opened. Steam will shoot out in a synchronized way out of the cylinder cocks, water tri-cocks, whistle, blowdown pipe, and safety valves whenever they are used. The smoke puffing and steam chuffing are also synchronized. The fireman, who is modeled after me, is visible inside the cab at all times, even in the cab interior view. The fireman has also been made accurately to my likeness. The fireman and engineer are dressed appropriately for American train crews from the 1860s. The doors and windows can be opened in the cab. The coaches have interior views, and rain can be seen on the windows when it rains or snows. There are many new camera mounting locations on this locomotive, including different angles inside the cab, where you can even see through my eyes in a first-person point of view as the fireman, and there are also many camera views placed on some hard-to-reach areas of the locomotive, providing for some interesting shots. The whistle acts as the code for the brakeman to apply or release the handbrakes based on how many blasts are blown, as it was in the real world in the 19th century before air brakes were implemented on trains. The smoke will change color based on how well or how poorly the locomotive is being fired. Sparks will also fly out of the smokestack at times. The smoke has variable density that will change based on the throttle and reverser settings. The headlight can only be turned on and off if the locomotive is stopped. This is so because it's to symbolize that the headlight needed to be lit manually since it's a kerosene headlight. Whenever the reverser and throttle are being moved, the trigger will push in and then release whenever they are no longer being used. The reverser handle will become very stiff to move if there's too much steam chest pressure, since this locomotive lacks power reverse. Sometimes, if this is attempted, the reverser will slam into full forward or full backward, which could cause serious injury or even death to the engineer in real life. The throttle has a delayed reaction to the player's command, which is prototypical due to the distance between the steam dome and the steam chest. There is visible and animated wheel slip based on load, throttle settings, and reverser settings. When the sander is being used, sand will actually squirt onto the rails. Piston damage can occur due to too much wheel slip or when applying power in the opposite direction while the locomotive is in motion. Snow accumulates on the locomotive when set in the winter. After turning off the bell sound fades out properly with echo and fading effects without ending abruptly. The locomotive has accurate sounds for 19th century 440 American types, including the sounds of the bell, whistle, and steam chuffing. And the clickety-clack sounds are realistic on this locomotive, and the included rolling stock that's also included with it. Now we move on to the cons, goofs, and nitpicks of this DLC. The turntable doesn't make any sound when it's in motion, and it doesn't align properly with all of the roundhouse stall tracks. There's only one passenger train station on the route that works, making it impossible and even pointless to do a multi-stop passenger run. The Cheyenne station is the only station on the line to load and unload passengers, and they aren't ever seen getting on or off trains. The buildings only light up after 9 o'clock p.m. and will only remain on until 6 o'clock a.m., and the route looks very dark even after 6 o'clock p.m. Many of the pedestrians also glow in the dark. There are no passengers in the passenger cars, even with the start with empty stock option turned off. The engineer is always invisible in the cab interior view. The camera key commands are a bit awkward and take some getting used to in comparison to other locomotives in Train Simulator. Unlike the Union Pacific FEF3 Northerns made by Smokebox, there's no way to get the boiler steam pressure or the fire mass to zero if the locomotive is worked too hard. For example, the boiler pressure will always always be at a minimum of 77 psi or so, even if the locomotive is being worked too hard. The whistle sound will go mute after holding it down for too long. Some of the controls, like the feed water heaters, the water tricocks, and the tender's handbrake wheel, are fixed and not variable. This means they can only be at 100% on or 100% off and nothing in between. Snow doesn't accumulate on the rolling stock and the locomotive doesn't kick up snow when set in the winter. There's no animation for the brake system and handbrake wheels on the included rolling stock. It's only the tender that has this animation. And water isn't seen pouring out of the spout on the water tower whenever water is being added into a tender. So that's all I have to say about this DLC, and that concludes this year's Post-National Train Day update video. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned because for the next 12 months or so, I've got some exciting videos planned that I will be releasing here on my channel. So thank you very much for watching, take care,